Welcome to Make It Now with Linda Lang. Today I'm going to show you how to make earrings to match the necklace focal point. My previous video I showed you how to bead on top of the focal point, and within that video there's a link on how to make one of these cabochons, and I'm not going to do that again, but I am going to show you how to make them for the earring set. So it's going to be the same process, but I'm going to make them tinier into earrings. So what you do first is you find your cardstock that you like. Now this, of course, I want to match this one I made, so I found the cardstock that goes with it. This is just cardstock, just a piece of paper. That's what this was. So it's just pretty. So I found the area where I wanted to make it match the focal point as best as I can. Some of you may already have an oval punch. I do not. So I drew an oval and I cut it out and used it now for the pattern. And then I took my cardstock that I wanted and I just cut them out just like that. And that's where I am right now. All right, so now I have these two oval pieces, or you can do any shape. You can do a star, a triangle, whatever you want to do, any kind of shape you want. And now to make them a stone look appearance, you just take some cardstock. I used my cereal box and I'm going to just draw three. I'm going to do 3 of these here. So I cut these out, but there's a trick here you need to remember. When you cut them out, and I cut them out with the inside of the box showing up, so it's going to make the shape exactly like that. And since I don't have a perfect oval, it's kind of going to be off. If I turn it over, it's not going to really match perfectly. In this case, it doesn't matter because we're going to be gluing it down. So it doesn't matter if the bottom is showing or not. So, but I want to make sure my circle is perfect on it. See, it's okay to have the back like that because we're going to glue that down. All right, so let's do that right now. We simply take some white glue, Elmer's glue. This is Eileen's Tacky that I put in a bottle to make it easier to apply. Go all the way to the edge. Put this one on top. Squish it around a little bit so that it makes sure it gets all the edges, right? And then do the next layer. I put it backwards, but that's okay because I'm going to actually sand down the edges. Like that. Okay. That's how I do it. And you just do 3. You don't need more than that. And squish it down. Squish it down. Make sure there's no glue seeping out the sides. And it's okay if it's not exactly to the edge because you're going to trim this. I'll show you in a minute how to do that. Now let's do this one. Make sure my shapes all fit before I glue it together. There we go. I had them all facing up, so I'm going to keep them all facing up. Have the inside, outside of the cereal box showing on the outside. So like that, and squish it around. Make sure it fits perfectly. Now I do the next one. Make sure the glue goes all the way to the edge. You don't have to cover the whole thing. And just make sure it, you kind of squish it down and move it around a little bit. That's the one thing about using white glue. You can do that. I'm going to let them dry and I'll be right back. Okay, we are back and everything is dried. I put these two little pieces on this piece of paper, but before we do anything more, I want to use a sandpaper, a nail file or whatever, and I want to just sand these edges down a little bit so that they match the shape of my top piece. Doesn't have to be perfect, but get it pretty close. We're going to beat around it, but the closer you get it, the better. So it's good to just shape it nicely. Makes it look like just it's one piece. Whoops. It makes it look one piece when you do it like that. So just do that. And then I'll do the next one. See, there's a lot hanging over, so I'm going to sand it down. It's just cardboard, so it sands very easily. Okay, I have two of these. And now you take your triple thick, the same thing you used when you made this one. See how shiny it is? And you just put blobs on top of it. Oops, that's way too much. Oh no, oh no. Well, I'll just work with it. Okay, because sometimes you make mistakes like that. And then you just spread it around on the top with your paintbrush. You can just dop it. I like dopping it because then it doesn't make streaks or anything. I'm going to get that piece off the side there. I had too much going on over there. Whoa. That did not go well. Okay, so you do a little bit of that. You make sure there's no bubbles. Now, since I have some of this here, I'm going to put it on here. Okay, there. Put it around. Now, if you just do one layer, that's fine. If you want it to dry and then do another layer, oops, there's a glob there. Do another layer. There. So now we've got both of these pieces all the way to the edge. And you can say by looking in the light if there's any bubbles or any place that it was not added to, you'll see it with the light. Now this takes a little while to dry, so we're going to let this dry and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have let these dry and look how pretty they are. Very, very shiny. Can move that paper out of the way. Now I'm going to use this hard felt. It's not regular felt, it's a stiff felt. And you don't want the kind that pulls off the back and it's sticky. You want the plain. I think you can get these at Walmart or Joann's. And that's what I use on the back of these as well. So it's matching. So I use the same color to match the earrings. And all you do is you glue these down on top, just like that. Now the glue you use is not white glue. You have to use something that is a little bit more adhesively. This one I use Fix-All adhesive. It's a super glue and it's really good because it stays soft. You know how sometimes super glue gets hard after like one use and then you have to throw it away? Well, this for some reason it's stayed soft for a year now. So I use this, and I also use T6000. So you can use any kind of adhesive that's strong, that holds something together. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use this one. And you don't need a lot because we're going to put beads around it and it's going to hold this in place as well because we're going to do the over the top beading on these earrings. So I'm just going to use just a teeny, I don't need much, just a little bit, and squish it down there, and a little bit, and squish it down there. And make sure you have enough room in between each of these, because you want to cut it down the middle and have enough room around each piece. So I'll let that sit for just a second, and then carefully at this point I'm going to cut them. I'll cut them out. I'll show you what I mean. So you just cut, you make sure you have enough around here though. I almost went too short, but you want to make sure you have enough. Like that's a good amount of size on that side. But cut off your corners, so when we get to doing our beading, it won't get caught on the corners. Now, I'm going to let this dry, and I'll be right back. So before we continue, I wanted to show you what exactly you're making, because, you know, I showed you we're going to make earrings, but what do they look like when they're done? They look like this. Isn't that pretty? That goes with this necklace that I made. This is what I showed you in a previous video on how to make these necklaces. But this one, of course, we're going to show you how to make this beautiful earring. Okay? And that's what this is. This is going to turn into this. So we have these that we're going to work on, and it matches this necklace, which I'm not going to do in this video. You can watch a previous video. And I went ahead and found some beads that I would like to put on here. It matches inside of here the purple, and I have little purple, and I have these reds that I'm going to use. These are the tiny ones. To put the bigger beads around, I put the medium beads, and then I put the tiny beads. And the tiny beads is what pulls the thing together. So first thing you want to do is make sure that it's all nice and dry and it's stuck on the back of that felt, and you take your needle to the back, to the front, just like on my other options. Of course, there's a knot at the end of the thread and such. So then you've got your thread coming out the front, and you pick up 4 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, normally I would pick up 5 if I was working on this. I'll do 4 on the earring. So I do 4, and you go at the you put the needle back in at the end of that row of beads. And then you bring your needle back up, kind of in between on the side on the back there. Let me see if I can see it. On the side on the back. And you take your needle and go into the second to the last. So you're bringing your needle into the last 2 beads. And pulling it through. That actually secures the beads down. Now I pick up another 4. And just go all this, let it just lay there. And then I put my needle at the end of that, pull it through, take my needle back up through the back, in between the last 2 beads, and then take your needle and go back through the last 2 beads. And tightens it all down. Now it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way around, and I'll be back. Okay, I am back, and I have this earring ready to go. Well, what I did was I went ahead and trimmed around this earring with the beads, which I just started to show you. But I'm not going to do both. I'm going to do one at a time because I still got enough thread left to continue the next row. So I'm going to go ahead and go up through the back and just kind of go into any bead that you want. So I'm going to make my needle go into a bead so that it comes out a bead. You see how that comes out a bead? Like that. coming out a bead. Now we're going to start putting another layer on top of this. Now the next layer, I'm going to use a smaller size bead. You can use the same size bead if you want, but for earrings, I like to de-escalate my bead style. So I have some of these that I got from a necklace or something, I don't know, little tiny beads, and I'm going to use those smaller beads instead of these bigger beads for the next row. And all you do is you grab a bead and your string is out and you skip a bead. Whoops. You skip a bead and you go into the next bead, because the bead that you're putting on there is going to sit on top of that bead you skipped. So, and even though it's out like this, that's okay. We'll bring it in a minute. Go to the net, get another bead, skip a bead, and go into the next bead. This is the same thing you're going to do around the necklace. Pick up another bead, skip that big fat bead, they're all different sizes, and go in. Pick up another bead, skip a bead, and go into the next bead. Pick up another bead, skip a bead, and go into the next bead. It'd be nice if all these beads were uniform, but I don't have uniform beads. Okay, so I'm going to do this all the way around and I'll be right back. Went all the way around. And if you happen to have to skip two, like at the end here, I didn't have 3 to work with, so I had 2. So I'm just going to skip those 2 and I'm just going to stick my thread back through this little bead here that's sticking straight out. Put my needle right through there. Ugh, if I can get it in there. Like that. So now it's ready to go back around and pulling these all up. And how you do it is you take you can use the smaller bead, you can use a different color bead, you can pull these. I like to push these up a little bit. You see how I can push them up and right on top of it like this? It kind of makes it easier when I'm going around to pick up the bead with. See how that goes right inside? Like that. Even if they don't, that's okay. I'm ready to go with my first bead. And I want to use, I don't know if my needle is too big for these, but I would like to use this color because I think my needle's too big. I think my needle's going to be too big for it. No, they went right through it, so I'm going to use it. So I use this tinier bead, a tinier bead to go in between this bead and next bead. And you want to put the bead into the top, the layer that you just put up. So you're going to pull that bead right in there. You see how that connects the 2 right here? There. And now I'm going to grab another little baby bead and then put it through the next big loop, the next big bead. You see how I'm holding it? And I'm just getting another bead, putting it into the next one. And as I'm going around, I'm pulling it just a little bit, and you notice how it's going on top? It's going on top of my focal point, okay? And when you're done, you'll pull it a little tighter. But right now, let's just get these beads on here. And I'm gonna go all the way around and I'll be right back. So to tie it off, I simply take my needle, push it through the back, hold it down, make sure it's nice and tight before I go all the way into the back, pull it tight so that the beads sit on top of the focal point. Okay? And then in the back, make sure that it's tight, and then I bring the needle through the back and make a loop to tie it off on the back. And this is going to be hidden anyway, so you can make as many string mistakes as you want in the back. Okay. There. Do it a couple times, I guess. Okay. and then cut it off. So there's your one earring. Okay, so then what I do is I cut, and I'm going to cut just a little bit on the outside of the beading, because you don't want to cut the threads, and you want to give enough room to connect the front and the back with beads. So you give it the space, I'd say about 1/8 of an inch or even tinier. Just, you know, eyeball it and go all the way around. So see how I did that? Just got enough on the outside. It's not perfectly round, but that's okay. I can fix it a little bit. Okay, that's that one. So now let me finish the second one and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the second one and I'm at the very end. I want to show you how I complete the end. So I've got all my little beads pulling together that are on the inside, and then I take another bead, a tiny bead, and I put it in the next bead that's sticking up, and I've got one more bead to put right there. And then I just simply put it through that last bead, and then I put it back through, you know, a couple of the beads that direction so that my string goes within other beads. And see how that pulls together? When you pull it, it pulls it all together. And I take that needle and I push it to the back and pull nice and tight, and then I just make a tie off in the back like that. Couple of loops here, tie it off and cut. So now I have both of mine done, and again I'm going to cut around the edge of it, just inside, just a little bit outside of the beads, but I don't want to cut any of the threads. So that's why it's important to keep your threads within the bead frame, so that when you go around here you're not cutting any threads. There's my 2 pieces there. Okay, what I want to put on the back is something really nice and soft, because then it comes against my skin and it won't mess up with it won't be felty or anything. So I want to put a nice shiny piece on the back of this. So how you do it is it's just like, I think it's fake leather or suede or something like that. And then I'm just going to glue it here, and I'm going to glue it here. You don't need to keep an edge around it because we're going to cut it exactly to this shape. So we will use my glue. I'm going to use E6000. And you don't need a lot because you're going to put the 2 pieces together with beads. So I just put that there, just right in the middle, and then right there. Okay. How fun is this? I made so many, I got so excited. Okay, so now you just let that glue, I hold it down the middle, let that glue nicely. I'm gonna let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes before I start beading the 2 together. I can actually cut it out right now because it's sitting right there. I just hold it very carefully like that, and then I let them both dry right there. Right? So that's how that works. Now, I'm going to make a matching necklace to this, and what I'm going to do is use these same beads that go around it and do the same exact design. But this time, I'm going to probably use 2 of these little teeny beads at a time instead of just 1, because this is a bigger focal piece. You'll see it more boldly. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness, it looks like a planet. So that's what I'm going to do, and I will be right back. Once this is dried a little bit on top of that backing, I'm going to cut it exactly to the size of this earring edging there. Just right around that black area. I want to get it all the way right to the exact edge of it. If I go off a little bit, so it's okay. The beads will cover it. I'll do the same thing here. Like that. Okay, yay! And now I take my needle and my thread. I'm going to do one at a time. I'm just going to connect the front to the back. And you do it by, I'm going to start, you know what, I like to start at the bottom because then I can continue making little strands down, or I can do it at the top, or I can make my loop. But I'll tell you, I found out that if I do my fringe first and then decide where I put my earring bail at the top, it'll make it more even. I've done it to where it's been crooked, and it's only crooked because I do that first. So I'm going to do the fringe first. So I'm going to start at the bottom because I'm going to come back around and finish at the bottom. You put the needle through the middle, put it through the middle of the back and the front. See, I don't have any knot on the back, right? And you're going to do the same thing all the way around the edge by picking up a bead and bringing it on through. And so I'm going to use my purple bead still. I could go with blue. I think I'll keep it purple. And so I'm going to pick up a purple bead. You're going to do one at a time. Let's see. And you go through the back and to the front. Use your finger in the behind it to hold it in place. And then you bring your needle back up the way that you went in the needle. Not the way you came out, but the way you went in. So that when you pull it, it faces up. It faces up. Okay, now you're ready to get to the next bead. It's coming out of the top of that one. Grab a bead. Put the needle through both pieces. Make sure that that bead is in behind that next one with your finger right here. Go back up the bead and back out. And do it again. Pick up a bead. Go next to it. Helps because if your finger's behind her, it won't let the string get tangled either. And then you go back up the bead. And you keep going until you are all the way around the front. I'm going to finish this one, and when I get back down to the bottom, I'll continue on my fringing. And what I want to do is once I'm done going all the way around and my thread is sticking out, I'm going to kind of gauge the top at the bottom, and I'm going to put my thread through the exact middle bead to the bottom, like that. And then I pull the thread through. So now my thread is at the very bottom of my earring. And I pulled out some colors. Isn't that pretty? And I'm going to start beading, and I'm just going to make it a very small dangle like that. It's going to look like that. And I have a feeling I just like that. I don't even want a bunch. I just want one single dangle down each one. You can do you can do more along the side, you can add down and whatever, but on this one I think I just want to simply go down once, and I'm going to use a red bead to start. Put it in here so that it kind of dangles down like that a little bit, matches my blue. And this bead is interesting. It's got holes on the sides. So I'm going to use some little tiny red beads, these little red beads. I think I'm going to try it. I'm just guessing. I'm going to pull up a few of these, 4. I'll put them on one side. And then I'll do 4 on the other side. Come on, get on there. These are so tiny. 4 on the other side. So then I can come back up the bead. And again, it depends on what kind of beads you use. It could be simple beads. You don't have to have the kind like I have. And I go back straight up through that bead that I came out. Let's see what this looks like. I might like it, I might not. We'll see. And that's what it looks like. I think I like that. I'm just going to have the one. And it's going to dangle really nicely. And then all I do is you go back up through that bead that I came in, go to the back, and tie it off in a knot. Don't tight too tight where you can't let it dangle, okay? Let the string make it dangle, and then you just grab a little bit of the back like that. Do your notch in a loop like this, and then go back through again. And then I just tie it off, and then I cut it. I'm gonna do the other one, but let me show you how to finish this off, because you want to put the earring bail at the top, and I'm going to use these little tiny thread protectors, because you want to have some strength to hold the earring hook on it. So I've tied the end of my thread, so I have some thread here, and I have these little guys. These are these earring covers, and I am going to, let's see, I have several colors I can go with. I'm going to go with my silver. I only need 2. These are so handy to have, I'll tell you. I like all my little stuffs. Okay, so you have 2 of these, and I go back up to the front, and I want to hide my knot, so I just put my needle inside the design and go straight through to the back. And then my knot is hidden, you can't see it. And then I just, you know, because there's some thread already back here, it doesn't matter because you can't see it, you can't tell. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that I put my earring bail right where it needs to go. So I'm going to take my needle and go back up through a bead. That is where the central of my earring is, because I want that bail to be right in the middle, and it's not going in that bead very well. Okay, get in there. Okay, so now it goes up through here inside a bead. That's why it's a good idea to have your beads all facing out. You take this little wire protector, the thread protector, go on one side, let it fall down, and then you set it on the other bead. You see how I just set it right on top, and then I come back down to the other bead, and I hold it back so that the thread catches that loop on the top like that, and then tighten it. See, it's straight down, it's straight down, like that. And then I'll do it again because I don't want to have it just one thread, I want to have a double thread going up through there. So I go back up the bead, this is the tricky part. And sometimes it's easier to go through the back, yeah it really is. Go through the back, go up the bead, and up that. Make sure you catch some of the back. Right back up in there, come back down, and you know what, maybe it's even easier just to double your thread so that you don't have to do this twice, and it's very hard. And then go back down. It's easier to go back down than to try to find it. Go up and make sure it catches it right there. And now I'm going to just tie it off. You can do it any way you want. I just kind of go back and forth a few times, and then I tie it off on the back. Because I'm using black thread, the black casing around the earring, you can't see the thread. And then I don't like my thread to stick out, so I take my needle and I kind of go back up through the piece so that there's nothing sticking out, and then it's coming to the front, and then I trim it as close as possible to the material with my scissors. Probably use better scissors than that. Isn't that pretty? Oh my goodness, that's gorgeous. That's one of my favorite earrings already. Oh wow, wait. And then with this, that's gonna be so beautiful. Okay, then you take an earring finding and open it up by twisting it out. Drop your earring right on top of it and twist it back. There you go. Isn't that beautiful? So that's how you make your earrings. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one off camera, and I'll be back to show you the finished products. So I finished both of these earrings, and look how pretty they are. Absolutely gorgeous. These earrings are going to go with this, and I'm going to work on this probably this week. Well, until next time, have a blessed day.